For me, politics is given to us in a very binary way, and it's on the ground much more complicated than that, introducing one to this idea of self-reflection, and then also seeing these really highly polished think objects along with this thing that comes from American currency and has these kind of like American political undertones, but creating this juxtaposition through the titling, I think is an important place I want to get the viewer into, like kind of muddy the message a little bit. Just get them in the mindset of thinking about this land of America. My name is Ben Buswell. I'm an artist that lives here in Portland, Oregon, and this is my exhibition, This Land. Pessoa is using the idea of the creation of the mirror as a metaphor for kind of reflections on self. He says that man's ability to see his image in the mirror is a terrible thing. And for me, that whole quote is an analogy about getting out of self, this kind of incessant need to self-reflect, self-improve, solipsistically navel gaze as being detrimental to humanity. The first artwork is three separate objects. One is a zinc cast oil can. There's a zinc cast AR-15 magazine. Both of these objects are cast with zinc that comes from a local aerospace foundry. They cast the nose cones for Boeing's bombs. So for me, this being a specific zinc from a specific foundry that has to do with creating weaponry that we send around the world is an important connection to these two objects. These two objects sit under a wood-carved banner that says Novus Ordo Seclorum. That has been on our dollar bill for quite a while. It was originally translated to mean a new order for the ages, that America was a place that was redefining or bringing the future of democracy or this new type of government and structure to the way that we live in the world. All three pieces together are titled Elegia. It's the root word of eulogy. So in one way, these three objects can be seen as a eulogy for maybe these sentiments, maybe for the objects themselves, maybe for the necessity of the objects, maybe for the desire for the objects. And on the other hand, Elegia, when it's used as a proper name, it means the chosen one. So there's this kind of double read in those three objects that functions as a loss on the one hand and also a call back to seeing America as this new order for the ages. And for me, leaving that really open as to how the viewer takes that is important. The suite of photographs that make up this land are 50 photographs that represent the states. So each state was given a photograph, and I looked up and crunched data about things like suicide rates, gun violence rates, homelessness rates, median household income, median house prices, the number of people on SNAP or other types of benefits, college graduate levels, data that we see in the world as ways to think of some places being better or worse to live in. The number one state, like the best state, according to this metric, was given 1 hole punch. And the worst state was given 50 hole punches. The last piece of data that went into making the piece was the amount of federal money that's received by each state. What I did was rank the states, again, according to how much money they got, and put back those hole punches according to that ranking. So the state that got the most money got 50 put back, and the state that got the least money got 1 put back. What was amazing to me when I ranked them from 1 to 50 according to their quality of life is that the field is very regular. There's not one that just stands out as being more than another in any real way. And I think a lot about the United States. I'm always trying to understand the nation as a whole. I think it's really impossible. And so this piece is my way of trying to see it all at once. And it was really shocking to me how even it was. The title Magpie Sopor is twofold. Magpie is the working name for a land art project that I've started down in Malheur County, Oregon. And it's named that because magpies are beautiful and they live in that area, but also magpies, depending on your culture, are the kind of really good luck and really these positive things, or they're harbingers of death. Like the title of Elegia, there's this dialectic. And what I like about those kind of double titles is how if you choose not to choose, you come to this very unknown middle, I think is kind of the power of that for me. Magpie isn't necessarily a self-swallowing mirror. It reflects the self, but it reflects the self in a way that's kind of woven into the larger pattern of the field. It's asking you to see your reflection as part of a larger whole, rather than no reflection at all or a crystal clear sense of you, but to see yourself in the context of the larger space. The other thing that happens after people sit for a while is they start to notice other people's reflections across the room, which is one of the big metaphors of this show, is losing self to see the other, seeing yourself in context of a larger body, whether it's a political body or whether it's people in a space or this land, whatever that means to you. And when you start to see other people being reflected in the context, right, that awareness that comes from seeing that we are all part of this, like the system, the thing, the whatever we think is there is really just people. It's all of us. We're all kind of equal parts of a thing. The third piece in the main gallery is titled On Awakening. The idea with that title is that you look at this one image that's highly organized in a grid. There's this large sea of reflection. And then you cross over to this place that has a horizon. It's like we've come out of this sopor, we've come out of this sleep, we've come out of this reflection, and now we're seeing this new horizon. Again, there's 50 photographs representing the 50 states, but this time the horizon is included. And this time the photographs are no longer organized. They all share an equal place on the wall. And I'm trying to ask the viewer to see all of these data points, essentially all of these different definitions for places as equal. And that unfocusedness is representative of the eyes when you wake up. There's a beauty to that, but there's also a lack of clarity because each day is this new thing that you have to bring the self into, to remember who you are, to come to. It's that moment of undefined beauty when you wake up. The horizon, it's new horizons. It's something that we look forward to cross. And I think in this piece, the glass work that's on the photographs, repeating and dimensionalizing the bokeh of the photographs, is meant to make that vision towards the horizon tactile and beautiful and something desirable. That glass is an important element for me. I'm a real materials person. A lot of the meaning of my work is in the materials and in the processes I put materials through. So the glass is a really interesting material. Glass is non-crystalline. It's one body. So crystalline material like metal is made of a lot of little different pieces, right? Little crystals. And if you heat or bend or do something to one end of a stick of metal, the other end doesn't really care, right? That shock only moves so far through the crystal's lattice. Glass is a single body. Every part of that thing is sharing every experience that the rest of it has. It's why it's so easy to crack and break. Putting stress or heat on one side makes it too different from the other side and it will cleave. And so for me, glass is just this beautifully metaphoric material about oneness. And especially when you take that in the kind of political terms, e pluribus unum, from the many one, we get to the last piece in the show that you would see on exiting, which is the story is not the story. And it is kiln-fired frit glass. In this piece, I created a bed in the kiln of powder frit and embossed an American flag into that bed and then carefully removed it. And as we fired the glass, we stopped the firing at the point where the glass started to move. All of those little things started to move to try to become one body. And in the process, they started tearing that image of the flag apart. And I don't think for me, I can get much closer to a kind of material metaphor than that. This is millions of things trying really hard to become one thing, but tearing themselves apart in the process. And that's just kind of it, right? That's the piece. So you enter the show with this kind of subtle nod towards things American. You maybe deal a little more in the self or the self and other in a more conceptual way in the middle of the show. And then as you leave, there's this much more direct coda, right, back to the beginning and thinking about the civic self.